Welcome back to Sports Cards Analysis. I'm JT with another case break simulation. Today we got 2021, 2022, 2023 joint combination, clear cut, hockey. Everything's an autograph in this upper deck product. I kind of like that they combine the years because it gets things moving quicker. The SPX cards are awesome. Little throwback there. Disclaimer: if you don't hit, it's not my fault. If you do hit, it is my fault. Just don't, come after me if you don't hit. This is advice. This is statistical analysis. Sometimes you don't hit, and that's what I'm going to show you. So first things first, if you want to pay for probability instead of the value of the teams, a lot of people are going into these. Let's pay a ton for the Blackhawks. Let's pay a ton for the Oilers, and that's where we're going to put all our money. But if you'd rather just put your money towards the teams that have the highest probability of offering a return, autograph, let's do that. Let's look at what that looks like. So everything's an autograph, so we don't need to look at all these columns. We'll just look at total number of cards. And we got LA, we got the Senators, we got the Maple Leafs in the top three. And here's what the US dollar and Canadian dollar would be. And what we're doing here is we're distributing the cost of the cases across all the cards equally. That way, you're just basically paying what each card that exists, you're paying like a fraction of a cent uh, or whatever it might be to own the probability of getting that hit. And so if you buy the Kings, you're actually paying for the probability of hitting the Kings, which is really what you're doing in all breaks. I need people to realize that when you buy into a break, you're not just buying Kings cards, you're buying the probability of hitting Kings cards. That's what you're doing there. So keep that in mind. These are the prices you should pay, and this is how many cards they have. There's 1 through 10. There's 21 through, or that's 1 through 10. This is 11 through 20, and there's 21 through 30. And then the final couple teams with the Blackhawks being last. So there you go. That's if you want to pay for probability. Now, I know you don't. You want to pay by the value of the player. So I've developed this algorithm. First, I price every single card in the checklist. I assign it a value. One of ones, autographs, memorabilia if there were any. No matter what. Player strength, how good is that player? I give them a value. Is it a print run of one? One of one. Is it a one of 10? Whatever. Give it a value. Then I run 200 case break simulations based on the hobby box configuration, the pack odds. I do the best I can. Sometimes I screw up. I did recently, but this one I think I did pretty good. 200 case break simulations, add up all the ROI, divide it by 200, give you the average ROI. That's what I do. But I also tier the players. So 1 through 5, 1 being terrible players, 5 being great players. And then I rate the product. And this one's kind of a bell curve, a middle finger, if you will. So you have kind of a good distribution of the good and the bad, with most of the players and the autographs being right in the middle there. And that's why this product gets a 2.8. It leans more, that way. Technically, I guess it could be like a 3, but no, 2.8 is really where it is. So there we go on the rating of the product, and these are the same because everything's an autograph. Now let's look at average ROI for 200 cases. Now what happens here is I run the 200 case breaks, add up the ROI, and then divide it by 200. Typically what happens is, oftentimes what happens, not typically, but oftentimes what happens is there'll be a really great low print run autograph that skews all the numbers and messes them all up. That's kind of what happened here. But not really to the degree that it did in other, like in Panini Prism Basketball, if you watch that one. That had some pretty skewed numbers. But here, I got a Connor McDavid in the simulation that did kind of screw things up a little bit. So um, that's why this team's higher than the other ones. But really, this order is pretty solid. I stand behind this. I think it's pretty good. And then product strength and stuff, that's based on getting the most bang for your buck, getting the most dollars per team. And what that happens is if a tier 3 guy has 1,000 autographs, and that team, maybe the Kraken, has a tier 5 guy that only has 10 autographs, they're still going to be really well ranked because you're still going to get a lot of ROI out of that. That's kind of how that works. So here's the average ROI for 200 cases for each team. Okay, so there's the top 10. There is 11 through 20, 21 through 30, and the final right there, over 200 cases. Now you're probably saying, well, what if we just looked at the ROI for the cases when it hit instead of looking at all 200? Now that's not how mean works. That's not how averages work. You have to include the ones that they didn't hit in. But we can also calculate a mean over the cases where they did hit only, and that this is the result of that. So how we read this table, and this is probably my favorite thing in all of my videos, is we just say this team with this for this type of hit hits this number of cases. I should just move this column over because I always skip over the price first. And when it did hit, this was the return on investment for that. So what this is telling you is that Penguins autographs, it's a certain type of hit, and usually this will have autos, memorabilia, inserts, parallels, whatever. But today it's just autographs. It's saying the Pittsburgh Penguins autographs hit in 67 cases, and when in those 67 cases, on average, we're getting a $275, 371 Canadian dollar return. So we're going to break this down a little bit more. You know, let's find a good round number. 149, for example, is about 150, and 150 would be 3/4 of 200 because I run 200 case breaks. Okay, so what this means is that if you break this to a fraction, 3/4, now we're saying for every 4 cases of clear cut that you open, 3 of them should contain a Canadian's autograph. That's what that's saying, because that's 3/4 of 200. So I like to do this table. This is 1/2. So for every 2 cases, there should be a Canucks autograph in one of them. I like to do this because this really puts those odds, the pack odds, the box odds in perspective, kind of tells you how rare something might be. If you're chasing like the Blackhawks autographs, well, guess what? Less than has like what 3/8 of the time you're going to get. So for every 8 cases, 3 of them might have a Blackhawks autograph in them. So that's what that's telling you, and the ROI is what it is. So there's 1 through 10. There is, and screenshot these guys. Screenshot these and just read them on your own time. There's page 2. There's page 3, and then page 4. That way, you know, you can use this in your purchases. Use this when you make purchases. There we go. Now, average ROI by set type. One of the things I always stress is that when you price your cards on eBay, sometimes guys aren't considering how rare the set is, you know, especially for people like set collectors or people who are trying to complete rainbows and things like that. Like if you get, for example, let's find a good one here. First of all, maybe you get this signature vintage views and you're like, oh yeah, 548. And then you look at how often it hits in a 200 case break simulation, which I'm the only place you're going to ever get that. Um, no one's giving you this information. So then you're like, well, this is actually pretty, it's not super rare, but it's not super common. Like you're not finding it in 3/4 of the case. This is actually just over 1/8 of the time. So you maybe want to say this card's worth a little bit more than $548 or 740 Canadian. Maybe it's worth 800. Or you get to this one. Let's do a better one. Let's do this one here. Nope, not that one either, because this is an update. So let's look at Vintage Views Gold. That's a good one to look at. It hits in 2 cases. So out of 200 cases, this is only going to hit one time. That card's got to be worth more than 600 Canadian dollars. That's got to be worth 1,000 probably. So that's why I showed you this table. I'm going to go through a couple pages just to say when you get a hit and you're just unsure of what to do when you price that card out, come back to my video, screenshot this stuff, and you'll know, did I get a canvas signatures? Because yeah, half the people are getting these. Or did I get a cool, not that one, you know, cool canvas signatures gold ink? Well, no one's getting that. So I need to make sure that I price rarity into this. Just because you have a low print run of like 25 or whatever, doesn't mean it's a rare card. It's rare when it's not hitting. That's the point there. Now let's look at the checklist. Who has the most autographs in this set? It's a good question. Let's look at that. It is actually J.J. Paterka, and I remember looking at this and saying, does that guy really have 1,000? And the next closest one is 761. Looked it up, and sure enough, yeah, that guy signed 1,000 cards for this set. So that's probably the guy you'll see the most frequently when you watch breaks and enter into breaks. So here they are, the top 10 for the total number of autographs, and I'm going to go through a few pages here, and you know maybe a couple teams. So there you go. There's page 3. You know we got these guys, not bad. Let's just look at like the Blackhawks and see what we got because they had the lowest number of autographs. We got a Bobby Hall, that's cool. Patrick Kane's got 20 in this. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, nothing. I'm a Blackhawks fan. I wouldn't really, be too excited about that. Let's see how many. Let's see how many our boy Connor has. He's got 337 autographs. Not bad, not bad. It's 15 unique, different styles of autographs. Wayne Gretzky's got 117 in there. I'm really starting to see Wayne Gretzky so often that I think maybe his autograph's flooding the market. I don't know how it's keeping any value. Austin Matthews there. Who else would we want to look at? I don't know, but I've gone through a bunch of pages, so you should have what you need there. If you are wondering who else, maybe put their name in the comments and I'll just paste how many autographs they have. Number of cards per team. This is a good one because you look at this and you say, well, the team with the most unique cards are these teams. And so oftentimes in the past, at least before I started making videos, you might say, I need to go and buy the Canadians because that's the team with the most hits. But when you explode those print runs out and you figure out just because the Kings have 25 unique cards doesn't mean that it's not the most. It is the most because the print run is higher than it is for who was it? The Canadians. So there you go. So this is the 1 through 10 for who has the most cards. One of ones, we have 485 one of ones in this product. That's a lot of one of ones. I mean, we're talking that's a lot compared to the rest. That's not a lot for other products. Sometimes Upper Deck has like 1,000 one of ones in these things, but this one they have 485. And if you look at that, there's only one card that has a print run of three, which means there's three total. Well, that means that getting one of those three cards is harder than getting a one of one. Think about that. It's rarer, more rare. Even getting a seven, even getting a six, getting any of these is more rare than hitting a one of one. That's what they've done to one of ones. Those jerks. If you are chasing one of ones, because at the end of the day, they still are one of a kind, even if they're kind of not really one of a kind. Here's the teams that have the most, the top 10 teams that have the most one of ones. There you go. There's the top 10. Now the simulation results. I run 200 of these things. First, I'll show you one case, then I'll show you all the cases. So case number 200, here it is, sorted by print run. 25 for this case, 25 was the lowest. So we didn't even get a one of one in this case, which is insane. We get 30 cards per case, I think. There's actually 15. You get these like Upper Deck does those mini cases, the half cases, whatever, inner case, outer case, whatever. So there's all like there's the whole thing. There's what you get. Um, so set your expectations correctly. You're not always going to hit the best cards. Sometimes you get duds, but sometimes you hit huge. And in 46 cases out of 200, so 1/4 of the time, we got a one of one. And so here's 10 examples of the one of ones that I was able to pull in those 200 case breaks. There you have it. Just keep in mind that it's not always a jammer. ROI by team for the first 20 cases. So I've told you which teams have the best ROI on average. Now let's look at 20 case breaks represented by bar charts of ROI per team. So like you pick a team, you find the team that you're interested in buying, like the Blackhawks, for example, and look at them over the next 20 cases and see, do they hit every time? Do they hit well every time? Are they always low? That's what you want to look at. Some of these teams hit like, not every case. That just hasn't happened yet. But they're up and down. So keep in mind, you don't always hit. So this is a little different than what I give up top, which is the average, because this tells you, for 20 cases, how things change. The Oilers really hit on this one, but they didn't hit at all the next time. So there you go. That's kind of what this shows. Pick your teams, find out what is it that they're offering as far as ROI and stuff like that. Okay, total number of cards per team for the simulation, not for the whole checklist, just the simulation. Here's my top 10 teams that I got for that. For those one of ones that I did get, I actually got 5 for the Avalanche. So maybe the Avalanche would be an interesting pickup because I consider these simulations to be pretty real world, very similar. And the Avalanche might offer the best odds at getting a one of one. I'd go ahead and buy into that. If I was a consumer of these, I would buy that. Now this is by card type, and since there's only one card type here, we really are only looking at one thing. We're looking at the Senators having 325 autographs, over 200 cases, and we'll just go through a couple pages there. There's page 3, and that's it. We'll just stop there. That's 2021, 2022, 23 clear cut hockey combined joint product. Even has some updates in it from previous years. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff that people say. If you get a cool hit, hey, let me know. I want to see it or know about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.